Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to talk about my nail polish rules. Finally, I have some rules for how I purchase polish, how I use polish. I am breaking this into two different videos just because I think it's going to get a little unwieldy. It'll probably end up at about 40 minutes total, so I wanted to sort of break it into 20-minute portions so it's more palatable. And I can just go on and on and on. So this gives me a time limit, so I can't just talk endlessly. Now, for visuals, in some places I have specific polishes to show you that help demonstrate my nail polish rules, but in large part it's just me talking. So what you're seeing in the background is just me doing my manicure. It's just some stock, let's call it stock video. Some B-roll that I took just for this purpose because I sort of struggled to know what else to put in the background. And I suppose that means I should get into the actual rules. Rule 1, no backup bottles.
No kicks!
I needed to be able to put limits on how much I would buy, and because the question of how many bottles to buy would definitely come up at some point, I decided I could buy 0 bottles or I can buy 1 bottle, and that is the choice for any bottle of nail polish. Now you may be asking, does this come with a downside? Oh yes, I assure you it does, because when you really love a nail polish, you cannot buy another. Limited edition polishes, this is especially anxiety inducing, and especially as you watch the fill line on your bottles go down. One of the addendums I've made to this rule is that if it is a polish that I have finished the bottle, I can buy the bottle again. I can have subsequent bottles of nail polish. I just can't have them concurrently. This is my most strict rule. I have followed this rule up to this point. I intend to follow it into the future. Again, it just puts limits on me, and these are ultimately my rules. So if I ever did find them too burdensome, I could just change them. The one exception to this I make is base coats and top coats. So when I order from, say, Cuticula, I'll order several top coats at a time, or I'll order an extra base coat. These things I know I will go through, and they're standardized for me in general, so I don't consider them part of the rule. Rule number 2, this one is complicated and will require quite a bit of explanation. No dupes. No duping the vibe.
No kicks!
Okay, I swear I'll stop clipping that in, but it's really funny and I can't help myself. So what does this mean? No dupes, I think, is pretty obvious. It also goes along with no backup bottles. It's sort of included in this in a way. What it means is that I have some major categories of polish that I have internalized. They're arbitrary. I don't expect other people to do anything the way I do it. I'm a weirdo. So what are these categories? For me, it is shimmers, flakies, glitter bombs, and multichromes. What you'll notice missing? Hollows. I don't really like linear hollows that much, and I tend not to buy them. I have less than 5, if I had to guess, thinking about my nail polish collection. So they just sort of are oddballs and randos to me. So they don't get their own category. So when I think about duping or duping the vibe, the first thing I think about is, do I have something of a similar or identical base color in this category? That rule implies that for any given color of base, I probably might only have 4 polishes in each of my major categories, but this isn't quite true. For me, with shimmers, a polish can have the same base color, but a significantly different shimmer. Same for flakies. The colors of the flakies could be significantly different. If there's only minor changes, that is not sufficient reason to have a second polish in that category. So in practice, how does this play out? Well, I've pulled out a few polishes to demonstrate. So I'm using some cobalt-based polishes to show how these rules are applied for me. So the first one is a Don Deeva. I believe it's from HHC way back in like 2018 or 19. It is called Seal the Deal. My husband actually picked this one out. I had picked out 2 polishes and then I couldn't decide for the third one which of several polishes I wanted, so I left it to him and this is the one he picked. It might be a UP polish. It might be the only one I have. I'm not overly fond of UP. It's not especially special to me, so I like it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going out of my way to collect them. The shimmer on this polish is what looks like green to gold red to me. So the next polish that I bought was another cobalt. This is Heart of Glass by Cirque Colors. It has some hollow glitter in it, but I don't care about that for the purposes of my categorization. But look at the shimmer. To me, the shimmer is significantly different. Here I'm seeing pink to cold to green, and for me, that is sufficient difference to justify having a second shimmer polish that happens to be cobalt. The next cobalt polish I bought was this Bee's Knees Lacquer. This is Real Monsters Look Like Me and You. It's, again, another beautiful cobalt, but look what I've done. I have duped myself. Because I don't care about the glitter inside the Cirque polish, when I look at these 2 polishes, those shimmers are too close together. They are, as far as I'm concerned, identical. So with these 2 polishes specifically, I have broken my no dupes, or if you wish, no duping the vibe rule. Now you might think I shouldn't buy any more cobalt polishes, but haha, I can buy in another major category, which is the flaky. This is Cosmic Cowboy by Mooncat. It has these very pretty, predominantly pink flakes. So this is the first polish in the flaky category of those major categories. And so far, the only polish that has violated my rule is the Bee's Knees Lacquer. That is, for me, a dupe. So did I mess up? Yes. Am I giving it away? No. I am going to keep it, but with the knowledge that I broke my rules. Now I have another example to show you that involves green polishes. This is Pistachio BSC by Bee's Knees Lacquer. It's a very pretty, as you might guess, pistachio green. It's in a shimmer formula. The shimmer is gold to green to blue, but you're mostly going to see that golden green. Next, we have another Bee's Knees Lacquer called Sometimes Poison is Medicine in Disguise. It has a very similar base color to the Pistachio BSC. It's not identical, but it's close enough that under my rubric, I have to be careful about this being a dupe. Now, I have another polish to add to this complication. This one has a slightly more dusty base, but it is similar enough that I have to worry about it being a dupe. It's another shimmer by Bee's Knees Lacquer. This is the Hunt Family Power. Is it a dupe? No. The shimmer is significantly different to me. The only one I would worry about it being a dupe for is the first one, because it's in that major category. But the shimmer here is pink to gold to green. And for me, that's different enough to make it not a dupe. Okay, last example. One of the other things that can change the determination of a dupe is the opacity of the base. These 2 polishes look extremely similar. So on the left, I miss the Fish Seller. On the right, You Conjured Me Out of Hope. You Conjured Me Out of Hope is slightly darker in practice, slightly more dusty. I miss the Fish Seller. It has just a hint more purple in the base, but barely. Also, I miss the Fish Seller has a mix of reflective glitters. It's a rainbow, where with You Conjured Me Out of Hope on the right, it is a single type of reflective glitter. So, are these dupes? Well, they have the same ghost flakes, they have similar reflective glitter in them, and maybe I shouldn't have purchased them both. But one of the things that sets the 2 apart is one is slightly more opaque than the other. And so I don't necessarily feel that I have duped myself, even though in the bottle they look pretty similar. Could I be more careful in future not to get something quite so close? Most definitely. Am I sad I have them? No, not at all. One of the things I'm trying to accomplish with these rules is that picking a polish out of my collection feels like each one is unique and special to me. I don't ever want to feel muddled about, ooh, they're so close, this one or this one. I want each one to feel like a different experience. Oh, I'm a liar and I forgot what I recorded. There is one more example I wanted to show. In this example, I have two polishes that vary greatly in their opacity. Some of that change in opacity has to do with the type of shimmer, and some of it has to do with the saturation of the base color. So the first one I want to show is a bee's knees lacquer called Every Monster Goes Up Against the Timeline. You can see that predominantly green and orange shimmer, and what you can't see from the bottle is that this is one of those quite dense shimmers. When you get it on your nail, you can still see the base color, it's still there, but the shimmer is pretty heavy, so it looks pretty reflective, and I don't mean reflective glitter, but reflective is in something quite shiny. And because of that, it's going to have quite a bit of difference in look to its compatriot here. So this is a bee's knees lacquer called Roelin, and it is far, far more sheer in the base. As well, its shimmer is a larger particle shimmer on the verge of being a microflake. So even though on camera they may look a bit similar, the differences in saturation of pigment make a difference for me, and these are not dupes. So one thing I glossed over while I was talking about the cobalt polishes is that minor changes in a polish to me are changes in glitter, changes in sometimes the amount of glitter, up to the point where something becomes a glitter bomb. So if there's a scattering of, say, hollow glitter, I'm not concerned with that. That does not change a polish significantly enough to take something out of the realm of dupe for me. Same thing with flakes. If the flakes aren't different enough in a polish, it's a dupe for me. Another way to look at it is, let's say I have a beige-based polish, and within one polish I have a red glitter. If I then try to buy the same beige base, but now with red shreds or flakies, this is a dupe for me because just the shape of the inclusion is not sufficient change for me. Okay, I feel like I spent a very long time on that rule, but I just wanted to be very, very clear about what sorts of things I consider when I'm thinking about whether something is a dupe. On to rule 3. Rule 3, I'm going to gloss over here. It is going to be expanded upon in another video, the second half of this two-part series. I'm feeling very ambitious calling it that, but this rule is do not buy polishes you will not wear. As a quick summary here, what does this mean? It means that as I collect polish, I realize there are things I do and polishes I am attracted to in theory, but once they get into my home and into my collection, I just don't reach for them. So I have to just be mindful that perhaps it looks very beautiful on someone else, but maybe it's not for me. So just a quick example here that won't ruin something somewhere else. I have trouble with red polish. I wear red clothing, I like to look at red, but for some reason I really struggle to buy reds. Hopefully no one's too annoyed that I'm just sort of skipping over that one here. But on to the next rule. Rule 4 is before I purchase a polish, I must check my existing collection for a potential dupe. This is an active thing that I do. I cannot just imagine my collection and hope that my imagining is correct. I must get up, I must go to my collection. Then I must take out any polishes that might be dupes and bring them to my computer and compare the potential purchase to my existing collection. It's true that sometimes I get up there and sure enough, it's a dupe. Am I disappointed? Yes, absolutely. But then I'm not disappointed because it means I already own a polish so close to this that I can enjoy. So I am both disappointed and happy at the same time. It is a little bit weird. Moving on to rule number 5. I use a wish list to help me with my polish choices. I've included my actual current wish list here, just, so you can see what it is. It's not complicated. It's just the URL of the polish in question. If I'm not sure I actually like it, I put a question mark next to it. If I'm a bit sure that I have something similar, I also mark it with a question mark. That does not exclude checking it against my actual collection. So no matter what's on here, it gets checked at some point against my collection. This is a double-edged sword for me, though. What the wish list lets me do is it lets me sit with the idea of the polish for a while. It makes me a little bit less impulsive, which for me is good because I am trying to keep my collection to, I don't want to say to a minimum because that makes it seem really restrictive, but I don't have an urge to have so many polishes. I want to have a collection that I feel is curated, that it's specifically for me. Now, where this becomes a double-edged sword is that sometimes a polish will go onto the wish list. Maybe I'll say check it against my collection and it'll be a dupe, or maybe I've sat with it a few days and I've just decided, I don't know about this after all. Maybe I don't want this polish, so I remove it from my list. That's when the problem kicks in for me sometimes, because sometimes I'll then start obsessing about that particular polish after it's been removed from the list. And if I think about it and think about it and think about it over days, it will eventually convince me I need this polish anyway. Some of the polishes you saw in my Is It a Dupe section are a direct result of me taking something off my wish list and then feeling FOMO. Overall, I still feel that my wish list is a net benefit. It does let me consider things over a longer period of time. In conjunction with my wish list, I also like to wait for a sale. I like to pay less if I can. So one of the downsides to trying to wait for a sale is that some brands release in a window, and that window of opportunity may not be in conjunction with a sale. Sometimes that's just how things work. Other brands will have sales, but perhaps you risk waiting so long that the polish is no longer being stocked and you have missed out. I have missed out on polishes that I would have liked to have had. Is my life ruined? No. Would I prefer to own those polishes? Absolutely. Am I disappointed a little bit? Yeah. But another polish may come along someday that I like equally well and reminds me of that polish. As an example, I believe I passed up on Omelette du Fromage by Garden Path Lacquers. I would prefer to have owned that polish, but it was the only one I liked in the PPU that month. I didn't grab it when I think it came back in Rewind because I also didn't like any of the other rewinds, so I just missed out on that one. In fairness, though, PPU does not have sales. It's just an example of a polish I missed out on. Rule 7 is make the shipping worth it. I am located in Canada, and shipping costs to Canada from the US can be prohibitive. I have seen prices anywhere from $10 up to $38. It's absolutely bonkers. So one, you can probably imagine I don't want to pay towards the upper end of those prices, but also if you're buying a single polish, it really doesn't feel worth it to me most of the time. The way I mitigate the cost is to buy more than one polish at the same time. I aim for 3 polishes in general, but if I end up with a few more, I'm not angry about it. This is where my wish list comes in handy. I can put polishes one at a time onto my wish list, and when I get enough on there, I'll make a purchase. This is the same reason that I missed out on omelette du fromage. I only liked one polish and I couldn't justify the cost of the shipping. Now, this is another one that I don't know if this will upset people or it'll seem extremely rational. We will see. Feel free to chime in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say about any of this video. I am not allowed to have untried polishes. For me, this is a very natural feeling rule. It barely even needs to be a rule. I'm always so excited when new nail polish comes in. I do just want to put it on. I'm going to add to that, though, that I am not a seasonal wearer. I am a woman of whimsy. I put on what I want when I want to. I do not care. Does this mean I never wear a polish sort of seasonally? Absolutely not. I love a Halloween polish. I love a Christmas polish. I've made Easter Skittles on this channel and it's so new. I absolutely do have a couple of times a year where I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if? But it's not a rule. I can do it if I like. If I don't feel like it, no bother. It's not happening. So that does mean I need to wear polishes as they come in the door. There's no specific order if I order multiple polishes, but they do have to go on before anything else goes on my nails. I also have sort of a sub-definition of what wearing the polish means. For me, that's going on to 5 fingers, whether that's all of a single hand or spread out over both. That's up to me at the time, but it has to go on to 5 fingers. On to Rule 9. Rule 9 is I am not allowed to preserve a polish. This sounds a little strange. What it means is that I can't look at a polish and say to myself, I don't want to wear that because it's running out. No, not allowed to do it. The reason I have this rule is that if I'm preserving the polish for some time in the future, when I get to some time in the future, am I just going to put it off again? This is a mode of thought that can continue forever. I'm saving this for some mythical future that I may never be able to decide exists. Now that sounds great in theory, but in practice, I am also a person. I have flaws. I have whims. Sometimes I unconsciously look at a polish and go, no, no, can't do it. Oh God, that fill line. This is probably, along with being good about the dupes and duping the vibe, this is probably one of the hardest to follow because as a bottle gets progressively more empty, it gets harder and harder to convince yourself that it's okay to use it, or at least it's harder for me. It's especially hard because of my rule for not having backup bottles. So because a lot of my polish is limited edition, once it's gone, it's gone. And sometimes that can hurt. And my last rule, these are my rules. I don't have to follow them if I don't want to.
What?
I made these rules to help me, not to hinder me. I wanted a way to structure how I purchased nail polish, to not let it get out of hand, but at the same time to enjoy some varied nail polishes. I very much have the feeling that rules are only good insofar as they are rational. If there's something going on in your life and an 18th cobalt polish is going to be something that soothes you, who am I to tell you not to buy that? We all do that. I am certain of it. Sometimes nail polish is just a comfort, or maybe a little bit of excitement when it shows up at the door. Sometimes it is a feeling you would like to evoke in yourself, rather than any sort of specific need for a polish. My rules are therefore not as maybe strict as I may have presented them up to this point. Again, they're there to help me, not to hurt me. I'm just trying to look for some guidance from past me, who was maybe a little more level-headed. I think I'm going to leave it there because I think we all have reasons for why we buy polish, and I buy it for the sake of joy. For me, it brings me joy. I am planning a second part to this video with some extra rules that I did not include here and expanding upon that one rule that I just sort of quickly passed over. I left them out because they are rules that are maybe much more particular to me and maybe are more of a closer look into my particular psychology than anything that might be necessarily helpful to another person as a rule. These ones I thought, oh, maybe, if someone's not employing one of these, it might sound appealing. Or maybe they look at this, what I've just presented, and thought, wow, that is absolutely nuts. I am doing none of that. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you. And thank you for watching my video. As usual, I'm always appreciative that anyone watches my videos. Hopefully on the screen you're seeing a summary of my rules if I properly do the thing I say I'm going to do. And please enjoy a clip of one of my animals. I haven't decided which one it's going to be, so it's a surprise for us all.